So actually, the big picture is that it turns out that there's a biologic switch that animals turn on to gain weight. And when we studied that, we realized that this is how people gain weight, is they actually trigger a biological switch that normally we try to keep our weight at a very tight level. And, it's actually when that is going, it's hard to gain weight. But when you activate this switch, it becomes very easy to gain weight. So it gives a clue onto what causes obesity. Yeah, so fructose is a carbohydrate. It's a type of sugar. We know it is because it's in high fructose corn syrup, which is added to 70% of the foods that are processed foods. And, it's hard not to find some food with either sugar or high fructose corn syrup in it. Sugar is also contains fructose. Sugar is called sucrose or table sugar, but it's actually consists of both glucose and fructose bound together. So our two major sources of fructose in the diet turn out to be added sugars, and they make up about 15% of our diet. So fructose is really an interesting nutrient. So, almost all the foods we eat are used to make energy. And we have two types of energy. We have the active energy that we are using when we talk and do things. And so, we have that energy, which we when we're eating food, we're trying to make that energy, the energy we use to get around and do things. But there's also stored energy. And stored energy is really fat, because when fat is broken down, it can generate that same active energy. And so when animals hibernate, for example, they'll get really fat in the winter. And then in the winter, when they're hibernating, they're not eating any food and they get their energy from fat. So what makes fructose really cool is it preferentially moves the food we eat into fat. It preferentially turns what we eat into fat, and it does that by a trick. It actually lowers the active energy in the cell, so it actually reduces our energy, and by doing so, it makes us hungry. And then we eat the food to replenish the ATP or the energy, but instead it shunts that energy into the fat. So it's a really unique system. Normally, when you eat food, you're directly making a lot of ATP or energy from that food, active energy. But fructose drops the active energy and shifts the food we eat into fat. So that's what makes it so unique. That soft drinks can cause obesity much easier than solid foods. And the reason is because of that energy thing. So when you eat sugar, it drops the energy in the cell, or drops the active energy, what we call ATP. And that relates to how quickly the fructose gets there. And when you drink a soft drink, you get this big surge of fructose that gets absorbed all at once. And so that gets to the liver and other tissues, and it causes the energy to fall very fast. If you just sipped a soft drink, I don't want to challenge people to do this because it's very hard to do. But if you sipped it over several hours, it probably would just be a calorie, because it wouldn't ever reach the concentration needed to drop that active energy in the cell. It isn't just the fructose we eat. We can make fructose as well. We make fructose from carbs. So it turns out that you do not have to eat fructose or sugar in order to have fructose on board. And the major sources of fructose, besides the sugar and high fructose corn syrup we eat, is from things like potatoes, rice, cereal, and bread, what we call high glycemic carbs. And it's also driven a little bit by salt. So it turns out that like salted French fries, which don't contain sugar, are really bad. And we always knew they were bad, but now we know why.